So I finally got around to watching Transformers 1, which I've been putting off for a while because when I saw the trailers for this film, I automatically thought this looks like complete shit and I have no interest in looking at it. And I made a video a few months ago talking about Transformers, and one of the comments said I should watch Transformers 1 because it's a good movie. And even when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it, but I was in no rush to see it at all. And I finally got around to watching it this last weekend, and I have to say, this is the best Transformers film ever made. And that's not even on the curve. Like normally, when I've said that before, whether it's Bumblebee, whether it's any of the Bayformers or the post Bayformer films, whenever I've said it's a good or okay film, it's always been on a curve of like compared to what's come before. But no, this is like actually the first Transformers film that is just a good film. And I remember halfway through the film, it just dawned on me. I was like, holy shit, this is an actually enjoyable film. Like I could happily go back and rewatch this film. Matter of fact, I am going to rewatch this film sooner than later. Like I enjoy this film thoroughly. And when that hit me, I was like, I have never watched a Transformers film where like I actually was just thoroughly enjoying it. And not only enjoying it, but like really liking the story, like to where I want to see more of this. And tragically, we're not going to see more. Because, first of all, this film, whoever at Paramount was in charge of marketing this film, they needed to have been fired instantly last year. They need to be gone because the marketing for this film was atrocious. I think most people can agree because I was part of it. I'll admit, when I saw the trailer, every trailer I saw of this film looked continuously worse than the one before, to where like I had no interest in seeing this. And all the trailers, all the TV spots, all the teasers, none of the trailers or any of the marketing for this film does it justice. The film is a great film with the worst fucking PR and the worst fucking promotion possible. Which is funny because the Michael Bay films had the complete opposite problem. The Michael Bay films had the best trailers that made you think they were going to be a good film. Then you watch the film and they're terrible. But then Transformers 1, which is an actually good film, has the worst marketing. It's just funny how those two are complete opposites. But the marketing for this film was just a disaster. I mean, I've even seen other people like there's a lot of people who have said like, yeah, I had no interest in seeing this, and then they, word of mouth heard about how good it was, and they decided to check it out, and they liked it. Unfortunately, this film did not do good. Matter of fact, this is the worst performing Transformers film. It made only $120 million at the box office, and it had a budget of about 75 million. So not looking good. And also, when you compare it to what's come before it, I mean, even Bumblebee made like 400 million. Rise of the Beast and fuck, what was the other one? I think those. I guess it was only two. Rise of the Beast and Bumblebee. They both did like in the 300 millions, 400 millions. Like they were still a step down from the Michael Bay films, but this is rock bottom. Like this is the worst that the Transformers live action films have been at, which is tragic because it's the best. Like really, I have only a few minor criticisms of the film, and with those criticisms, it's still a great film. Like, and the fact that this is just dead in the water, like there is no interest going forward, is tragic because to me, this film is what Transformers should have been from the beginning. Like before Michael Bay, before any of the fucking Bayformers, this is what they should have started with. This and Bumblebee, I think, are the best fusion of what Transformers should and could have been for the live action series. And unfortunately, neither of them are going to be what we're going to get because now we've had the rumors going around that Michael Bay is going to come back. And honestly, he probably will come back because looking at what has come post Michael Bay, it's not been good. I mean, and that's not to say the quality of all of them have been bad. Like Bumblebee was a good film, Transformers One's a fucking phenomenal film. But as far as the box office, they've not been good. The critical reception's not been good. So overall, the Transformers franchise has just been in a really bleak state post Michael Bay, and this is something I was like, I don't even want to make it seem like Michael Bay was like him leaving was what caused this franchise to fall off because what people what people have kind of forgotten because it's been a long enough time is that the Michael Bay films was what led to this the current state of Transformers because those films, and I remember saying at the time, these films make a lot of money, but at some point people are going to get fucking tired of them. Like they're going to get tired of all the just the fucking great glamour and spectacle. They're going to get burnt out and they're going to have no interest. And the last night was the breaking point. People said, "Fuck this, I'm done." Even the most devout, diehard Transformers fans saw that fucking abysmal piece of shit and said, "You know what? I'm done." Like, I'm, there ain't nothing here. Like, even Raging Nation, who is one of the most diehard, like, sees the good in almost anything. Even he had to make a video saying, "Yeah, this is atrocious. This is bad." So the last night and even Age of Extinction, really, I'd say most of the Bayformer films, not good. So I don't even want to frame this as like the Transformers franchise fell off after Michael Bay left. It fell fuck apart while he was helming it. So, but because his made money, see the difference is unlike the post Bayformers, his just made a lot of money. Like the films are shit. I mean, they have good qualities, but by and all, like if you look at them in total, they're not good. They're terrible. But they made a lot of money. They made billions of dollars. So, at the end of the day, the money is what talks. It doesn't matter the quality of the film. It could be a great film, but if it doesn't make any money, well, there ain't really much the studio hasn't, interested. They're invested in it. So they didn't make any money post Michael Bay, and this one made the least amount. So unfortunately, we're not going to get a continuation of this. And that's tragic because this is the first Transformers film, Transformers One. This is the first film that did something that I thought they would never do, and I used to say for years that they would never do it. I was convinced that Paramount they would never make a fully CG Transformers film without humans. I said this for years. I said there is no fucking way we are ever going to get a Transformers film without humans because like and I get it to a degree, but like they just seem just hell bent on even just the most contrived way of just cramming in humans into a story that they had no business being a part of. I mean, take Rise of the Beast for example. The humans had absolutely no point or business of being there. Like you could have taken them out completely. But instead, we have to make them into these like fucking Iron Man characters, like with literal transformer parts to make them able to be part of the final battle. Like they went to that extreme of levels to like actually keep the humans involved. And I just thought like, yeah, we're never gonna get a film where there's just Transformers. Like we're never gonna get like an actual film on Cybertron, just completely CG with Transformers fighting with a story. And we got this in Transformers One, and so I was wrong. I was happily wrong that we actually got this. And the thing about this film, one of the things I like about this film is the characters. Like this is the first Transformers live action Transformers film where we actually have the Transformers with character. Like I mean, you look at the Michael Bay films. There's no character. I mean, I challenge you. What is Bumblebee's character? What is Ironhide's? Like, what is the depth of his character? Exactly. Most people don't even know who the fuck Ironhide is. What is the records? What is their personality? What's going on with them? Like what can anyone tell you about them? They're Scottish and they look like race cars. Dino slash Mirage. What can you tell me? What can anyone tell you about him? He's a cool looking sports car with some grappling hooks. Megatron. The most iconic villain, one of the most iconic Transformers. What do we know about him in the Michael Bay films? He's evil. That's it. Shockwave. What do you know? What can you say about him? Nothing. There ain't shit that you can say because he only has like 5 minutes of screen time, says like 3 words and gets killed. Nothing. You can't look at. There is nearly no Transformer you can look at in the collective of the Michael Bay films that has any type of layered or nuanced character, or even a character. Most of them are just fucking caricatures of a fucking stereotype. They just have accents and speaking funny voices, or they're just fucking outright racial stereotypes in the form of a robot. They don't got no fucking personalities. But in this film, like they actually characterize and actually give depth to these characters. Like Optimus Prime, which in this film he's not Optimus Prime, he's Orion Pax, and then Megatron, who is not Megatron at the beginning. They're both they're pretty much like the lowest level of Transformer. They're like mind workers, but they're best friends. And what I like is you get pretty good characterization of who Orion Pax, Optimus, and Megatron is. And then from that characterization, as the film goes on, you understand how each end up as they do. You understand how Orion Pax ends up becoming the Optimus Prime we know, and you see how Megatron ends up becoming the Megatron we know. But I would say in this film, what this does, I don't think any other media has done, is it has given a real deep analysis, not even analysis, but like just a kind of like an not even an explanation, but just like a fleshed out detail of like why Megatron is who he is. And honestly, this is a part of why I feel like it's tragic that we're not going to see another film in this franchise, because there is so much more you could do to build on what Megatron's character is. Because you see where Megatron starts out as. He starts out as just a simple, happy to be where he's at, content with his job, to within a day, his entire pretty much his entire life. He finds out everything about his life is a fucking lie. The leader he has looked up to and seen as like the savior turns out to be a fucking fraud, and has been fucking using them, and has completely been working against the Transformers interests, and has been exploiting them. And like, so within a day, like his entire worldview, his entire life is just fucking shattered entirely. And you see how from that he ends up in becoming the tyrannical Decepticon leader. And I like how you really get a full like fleshing out of these two, because like as the film goes on, you start to see the cracks between the friendship of Orion and Megatron. Like as they start to go further into the story, and as it gets to the climax, like you start to see the kind of subtle cracks that like start to form between a relationship. But the thing is, like, it never just like suddenly ends. Like it's not like one of these films or stories where like suddenly they go from being the best of friends to just suddenly they're like the worst of enemies. Like it's a natural thing, and they never quite just become like what we know is like what we know now is like Optimus and Megatron being on the two complete opposite sides, sworn enemies. Like even at the end, even with what happens at the end, you can still see that there is that bond of friendship that they have, because they had just that strong of a bond together. And so they never fully just become enemies, but you can tell how their friendship just completely shatters by the end of it, where like there's a definite no going back, a point of no return, essentially, where Megatron goes his way, Optimus becomes, Optimus Prime, the leader of Autobots. Megatron becomes the leader of the Decepticons. And then that leads us into what we know now as, the Autobot Decepticon factions. But even outside of just Optimus and Megatron, like the other characters are pretty good. Like Elita One, who, funny enough, has really never had any type of spotlight in the Transformers franchise, or not the franchise, but the films. I think, well, there was that weird, I don't know what the fuck they were supposed to be. Those like weird RCs in Revenge of the Fallen. I think those were supposed to be either RC or Elita One. I can't remember. I don't even think they fucking knew. They were supposed to be some variant of like Elita One and RC, but they showed up for like 5 minutes and got killed. So like that is pretty much. Oh, and in Bumblebee, we saw, I think it was, yeah, RC. So in Bumblebee, we saw RC, but that was like only for like a little bit, like only a few minutes. Like that was at the beginning of the film, and she's really never seen again. So there's really never been like I'd say like a really faithful, or not even just a faithful, but like a really good adaptation of Elite One. But this is a really good portrayal. Like Scarlett Johansson as Elite One, pretty good job. Like I really liked it. Like she plays a character well, and you really sympathize with how this character, who pretty much ends up just getting completely fucked because of having these complete incompetent morons underneath her, aka Optimus. you sympathize with like how she has just been completely fucked over because she's leading fucking inept morons, and then like as the movie keeps going on, she ends up just getting herself dragged into these situations that she could care fucking less to be a part of. Like she has no interest in wanting to be more than what she is. Like all she wants is just to do her job, keep her position, and and that's it. Like that's what she wants to do. Like she has no real higher aspirations or anything else. Like she just wants to do her job, keep her position, and that's it. And she just is not allowed to do that because she ends up having to be dragged along against her will into the adventures of Optimus and Megatron and Bumblebee. And that leads us into I would say one of the other characters that I will say I do like all the characters in this film, as I've been praising how good the characters are in this film. The one that's a little bit on the, I wouldn't say annoying side, is Bumblebee, and I feel like with Bumblebee, the issue with him in this film, because he's voiced by uh, Keegan Michael Keel. I think that's how you say it, if I can even pronounce it correctly. And he's clearly supposed to be the comic relief of the film, which is great, but I feel like they went a bit too far into making him just the overbearing comic relief. And he's not supposed to be. He's supposed to be just the funny, goofy, you laugh at what he does type of character. But like as the film goes on, you're just like, holy shit. Please, can we go back to him not talking again? Like this film, if anything, it really does show one thing of like, there's a reason why, a good reason why you should not be talking, because you end up like this, and fucking hell, just a movie of him talking like this is like, holy shit, someone fucking rip his voice box out and fucking toss it into the fucking deepest depths of space. I mean, he's not a bad, again, he's not a bad character, but like it just, the comedy, it works, but when it works, it just doesn't know when to stop. Like a joke will land with Bumblebee and they just keep going. Like they don't just let it, settle. Like they don't just let it be. They just have to keep fucking hammering it and going on and on. And you're just like, holy shit, he won't shut up. I mean, they do have a funny gag where like he is literally gagged and he was like unconscious at one point, and they're like, he was still talking, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, even unconscious, and they're like, yeah, even unconscious, he was still talking. So like, there's like a little bit of a funny bit of like how they're aware of how fucking annoying he is, but like I felt like they could have toned him down just a little bit, like I felt like he was a bit more extra as far as like the comedy than he needed to. Like they could have toned it down. I'd say like 5, 10, 15%, probably fucking 30 actually, if I'm being honest. Like they could have toned it down a good bit. But besides that, like as far as all the characters, like there's really not a bad character in the film. Like even the Sentinel Prime, which it's funny that Sentinel Prime, I don't know why he has suddenly become. I mean, not suddenly. I mean, because Dark and Moon came out like a decade ago. It's kind of funny how Sentinel Prime has just kind of become like a default villain. Like ever since Dark of the Moon with Leonard Nimoy voicing Sentinel Prime, like it seems like in whatever form of Transformers media, he has become like just the de facto or like the twist villain. Which in this film, like he's not even. I would argue he's the Sentinel Prime is not a twist villain. It's just very what's the word? Like it's very choreographed. Like you can tell, like as soon as he shows up on the screen, you're like, this guy is definitely doing some shady shit, and he is definitely a villain. Like it's blatantly obvious this guy is a fucking fraud, and no one's surprised he ends up being a fucking treacherous fucking fraud that's actually the one that caused the downfall of the primes and is working with the essentially the enemy of the Transformers. He's fucking exploiting the energon for nefarious uses. It's pretty much like he's just, I want power at any cost for my benefit only. Fuck everyone else, and everyone else can be underneath me, and anyone who challenges or threatens my authority or my power, they're gonna get fucking killed. I mean, his character seems like a very simple, generic Saturday morning cartoon type of villain, but like I'm not gonna act like there's like a lot of depth there, but like he is enjoyable. Like he's an enjoyable villain. He's that type of just insufferably charming, narcissistic villain that like he never really takes anything really seriously. Like even when like things are like really serious, or like when he's like dealing with characters that are like confronting him, he always still has like a bit of a like carefree, doesn't give a fuck type personality. Like he literally executes a transformer, and he just kind of jokes about like after and before he straight up just executes a transformer, he's just like going on joking about like it's just a day at the office, and I don't know, I like it. I really did enjoy Sentinel Prime as the main villain in this film because like on top of being a good villain, he also, because of how his character is portrayed, it really helps build Megatron and his turn because of like how because Megatron sees Sentinel as like the like savior of the Transformers. Like he's this dear leader who can do no wrong. He's doing everything he can to protect us, and then he finds out that not only is he not doing everything to protect us, he betrayed Megatron's idol. His like who he kind of like looked up to, Megatronus, betrayed him and the Primes, has been exploiting the entirety of the Cybertronians, exploiting Energon. Like he's a fucking fraud. And it completely just decimates Megatron, where like he swears, I will never again follow a leader. Like from this point on, like I will not fucking follow a false prophet, false leader. I'm gonna be my own transformer, and I'm gonna be the one that makes the decisions. I'm gonna be the one that's in charge because I trust myself more than anyone else. And you see where, again, like you see how from that he ends up getting to where he is, and it helps really because of how Sentinel Prime is portrayed. And I was like, that's also the thing I like about the film is like there's so much from the story that you can kind of like miss, and I've missed. And I've just like noticed like looking at like other reviews and looking at people talk about like there are things I even missed, like as far as like subtle things in the story, character interactions, their behavior, their mannerisms. There's so much in this film that just like is so enjoyable that like you can just rewatch it again. Like that's the one thing. Like even like as much as I've been talking about the characters, like there's like interactions and like just things that the characters do when they're talking to each other, like that I didn't even really pick up on. And the one thing I kind of picked up on like near the end of it was just like, wow, like it's kind of interesting like how all these like most of the characters like kind of like complement each other and like how they build their stories and the story together. Like or how it all kind of like builds on top of each other. Where like the relationship between Optimus and Megatron, Sentinel Prime and his relationship with Megatron and Optimus, Optimus' relationship with the miners, like it all kind of like it all connects together to make this really cohesive story that makes a very satisfying ending. And so, like, when it comes to pretty much all the characters, like, I can't give enough praise to it. Like, the characters are great. But, like, another thing about this film that so this is what I'm gonna say. My one criticism is I like the CG style, but to me, and this is just me, and it's not, this isn't to try to degrade the art style, but to me, it looks like something that you would see on like Nickelodeon. Like the quality, it's not bad quality, but it just looks like a very good quality CG show that you would see on like Nickelodeon during the daytime. And to me personally, I would have loved to have seen a graphic style or an art style similar to what we saw at the beginning of Bumblebee. Like if this film had looked like the beginning of Bumblebee did when they were on Cybertron, this film, not that it would be enhanced astronomically, because it's a good film despite the graphic, despite the art style, the animation, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Despite the animation art style, it's a great film. But like I don't know, I felt like if they had the Bumblebee Cybertron aesthetic opposed to this, it would have just enhanced the film so much more. And I think also it would have kind of helped people's perception of the film because like the way the film looked to so when I saw the trailer, the way the film looked to me, combined of how poor the trailers looked, I just thought this looks like some fucking stupid Saturday morning Nickelodeon, fucking cartoon. And I think if it had like a better, like a more not like an adult, but like just a better fitting aesthetic like the Cybertron one, it might have been taken a little bit more seriously. I mean, the trailer still would have been trash. I don't think that would have helped as much, but I think it would have helped the perception just a little bit. But even with that criticism, like the way the film looks, like the thing that I really like is how much detail went into this film. Like you can tell a lot of detail, a lot of care, a lot of passion went into like making every type of architecture, every type of design is carefully made. Like there's so much going on in the film that you can like look at this film multiple times and like see things in the background, you can see things in the foreground, you can see things in the environment, you can even see the way like characters, the way they transform. Like there's so much detail into how much everything works and moves and is situated and placed and how characters move in the environment. I love it. Like, and it's something that this film does on top of the just design. The film looked great. The Transformers designs look great, and this film does something that has been an issue and a problem with the Bayformers films, and they never fixed this. This it only got worse. The main criticism, among others, as much as the Michael Bay action has been praised, it was really just clustered shit. Like you couldn't tell who you were looking at, who was what. Like it just looked like jumbled metal, just like fucking it was like all mangled together. You're like, I don't know, you're like I don't know who's what. Like you didn't know who's an Autobot, who's a Decepticon, and you couldn't even tell half the time. Like what the fuck is happening? Like, did that character, did that robot shoot them, or is that what is that Starscream? Or I thought that was like who was that? Like you couldn't tell who was who. Like when the action really got intense and it was really high, high action, super fast pace. Like you couldn't tell what the fuck was going on. Like it looked cool, but as far as what was going on, couldn't really tell. In this film, you can tell distinctively because of like how well designed each character is. Like each character is uniquely designed and they have a unique color scheme. So like when Optimus and Megatron are fighting, you clearly can tell who is who and you can see what they are doing, like who's punching, who's shooting, who's blocking. Like it's easily able to be followed. Like the action is really done well on top of like how the characters are like designed. It complements each other. Like, and I really didn't realize that till I saw the show. Like how much the character design helps with the action scenes because like you can actually tell who they are. Like, I mean, I know like this has been a problem in the Michael Bay films, but like I didn't really realize till the action scenes at the end of this film just how big of a problem that was. Because if you took the Optimus Megatron scene in this film and you put it in the Michael Bay film, I mean, you could tell it was Megatron Optimus just because Optimus had a bit more color. But like as far as like figuring out what you would not know what the fuck is happening. Like it might look cool, but like you wouldn't be able to see like I don't know what just happened. I think Optimus just used the axe. I think Megatron had a gun. I think like you wouldn't be able to figure out what was happening. In this film, you can like the choreography plus the character design plus like the detail to it is great. Like it's completely followable. Like you can see what's happening, you can understand what's happening, and like also like the detail in this film, like when it comes to like the characters, the end of the fight scene or like in the middle of the fight scene with Megatron Optimus, the way they fight in a way that like you feel like this is how Transformers fight. Like it doesn't seem like it's just mangled metal, just fucking thrown together and just like broken apart. Like you can see like how they're fighting complements like them being Transformers. Like a character will like use like they'll half transform to like avoid a cannon shot, or they'll like detach a part of their body to like use as a weapon, then like reattach it to another part to like be used as like a limb or like a shield to protect themselves from getting hit. Like you can see how they like their fighting styles were like used in a way to like actually complement and like enhance the fact that like they're actually robots. Like they don't fight just like how people would. Like this isn't just like a fucking John Wick movie or like Jack Reacher. Like the fighting in this film like actually feels like robotic fighting, but it doesn't feel like just clustered shit going on that it looks like a motion blur. Like it's actually comprehensible action. And I like that. Like, also like with the design of the film, like with the way the film looks, like one of the things I liked is like every like location they go to, like the amount of detail you see, like in all of it, like from the background, the foreground, the characters, like even when the characters are talking, like the way their eyes move, like you can see like with just the way they react to each other, like how their eyes like kind of shudder. how they kind of just stare. Like there is so much emotion in these characters' faces, like just the detail that was taken to like making these characters like feel like real characters. Like, when you see Optimus like looking at Megatron, like after something pretty, shocking happened, you can read exactly what his face is like, what he's feeling. Like you can tell he's like shocked or sad. Like when Megatron, is giving a speech, fucking rageful, like a rage filled speech. You can see that fucking anger. Like you can see that. You can get that. Like, whenever the characters are like, you look when their faces are like, when you're looking at them, their faces tell, like, you can see what they're feeling, like what that character is like going through internally. Like you can kind of like get their thought process, and it's just a good way of like also kind of enhancing those characters. Like you understand those characters more. Like you don't just feel like machines or robots or just generic robot A, robot B. Like these feel like real, living, breathing characters. And the amount of this like design and care that went into making that is just phenomenal. Like I cannot give enough praise to that. And that's also why like I'm disappointed that this film is pretty much not going to get any other follow up, because I would have loved to have seen what the progression of the design, because like I feel like they would have only gotten better. Like if we had gotten like 4 or 5 of these films, like the amount of detail they just have in this film, like it would have been phenomenal by like the third or fourth film. And I would have loved to see like what other characters would have like looked like in this design. Because like the thing about the Michael Bay Transformer designs is I like them. Like I will say I might be in the minority here, but like I do like a lot of the Michael Bay Transformers designs. But I do like this art style to a degree. Like it's not my preferred one, but I think if it was like touched up and just a little bit of changes, like, because I feel like they would have probably have changed the CG style or the aesthetic if they had kept making these, and I feel like it would have maybe looked a little bit more like the Bumblebee aesthetic, the Cybertron Bumblebee aesthetic, as they kept going on. And I would have loved to have seen like what other characters would have looked like. Like I would have loved to have seen like Shockwave, because he's in this film. Like Shockwave's in this film. Like I would have liked to have seen him like, 3 more films in, like with a more updated art style. Like I would have loved to see these characters kind of like develop, not develop, but like kind of like improve of like as the quality of these films improve, which unfortunately we're not going to get. And that's another thing about this film. Like the other thing I like about this film, and the reason I think this film would have been a great launching point for the Transformers franchise, like this is essentially a clean slate. Like this film, it has no connection to the previous films, and you could have just taken this anywhere. Like this film is a perfect prequel to a franchise, and if you watch this film, you could easily understand what's going on with any other future film. Like you could go like, let's say this had gotten like 4 or 5 films, you could have easily understood like looking at this film like, oh, okay, I see how Megatron, why he is how he is, or like how his character is how he is. Like the one character, and I will say this is just me. I am a big Shockwave fan. I've been a lifelong, oh, well, not lifelong, but I've been a very long time fan of Shockwave, and I feel like he has been just dealt a fucking terrible hand, a fucking bad hand. And not every, I mean, the show's done pretty good, but like you look at him in the comics, he's a great villain. He's a fucking terrifying, menacing, cold, emotionless scientist character. And in this film, he's just kind of just a joke. He's not a joke, but he's pretty much just a comedic slacky. He's just like a comedic henchman. He's that's it. But I was thinking, considering how Megatron at the beginning of this film was, not Megatron, I feel like if you had kept developing these films, you could have gotten to a point where these characters became what we know them as now. Like essentially, you could have like, yeah, Shockwave is like just a nobody, goofy henchman, but like over 100 years, we see him become the cold, emotionless scientist type that we see in the comics. Now, honestly, I don't think this is me kind of fantasizing about what I would like to happen. I don't think, even if this had become a franchise, I don't think we would have ever got that. Just because I feel like these films would have kept to that like kid child appeal and Shockwave in the comics, and this is also why I get it, because like Shockwave in the comics is not kid friendly. Like him as he is in the comics is not something you would see as like a very kid appealing type of villain. So I get it, but I feel like with enough time and enough films and enough character development, you could have developed these characters, like Shockwave, into being more in line with how we see these characters today. And that would have been cool. Like, it would have been cool to kind of see like all these characters in this film, and then like look back 10 years from now and be like, "Holy shit!" Like, that's kind of crazy. That was like Shockwave. Or like look back 10 years from now and be like, "Wow!" Like, I forgot Bumblebee was like this. Like, it would have been kind of cool to have that retrospective to be able to look back and see how these characters were and like the progression of them to like what they are in the future. That would have been pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen that. And unfortunately, we're not gonna get that. Um, but I don't know. I hope at some point maybe there will be a second chance for this, because like I said, this film was not dealt a good hand. Like the way Paramount marketed it, it was terrible. The promotional uh, campaign for it was bad. Just overall, just the trying to promote this film was terrible. And I mean, yeah, it did not make a lot of money. Did poorly, but like as far as like just a quality movie, it's the best. Like this film, hands down, is the best Transformers film. The story is good. The potential, like not only that, but like the potential for what you could do with this film and make it into a franchise is limitless. Like you could make anything you want from this film, and like you have the building blocks. Like like by the end of this film, the Autobots, the Decepticons, Cybertron, the world building of Cybertron, like the social status, the social change, all of it is established perfectly. Great. And you could have easily used this as a launch pad, and it would have been great to like have this as like the start of a new like chapter for the Transformers franchise, which it might happen. Like maybe, I mean, and like again, Michael Bay is supposedly going to come back, or it's rumored, it's not confirmed. But I think personally, he probably will, because I think at this point, Paramount don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what to do, and with all studio, what every studio does when they don't know what to do with a franchise that's been around for a while and is doing pretty terribly, they go and look at what made it successful, and they go back to try to use that again, and 9 times out of 10 doesn't work. And in this instance, I don't think it'll work either. I don't think it'll work bringing Michael Bay back, but I will admit that it hasn't been the best few years post Michael Bay, so they're in a weird position. Like, and as much as I like the film, the fact they did so poorly, I can see from the studio's perspective why they'd be kind of reluctant, because like it's not like the previous films have been doing good either. Like these films have kind of consistently been losing money to this point. So I can kind of see how Paramount would look at these films and be like, the Michael Bay films, narrative, storytelling wise, might not be the best, but I mean, it's like they made us $1 billion. Like I think Revenge of the Fallen. I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Age of Extinction, Dark of the Moon, at least two or three of the Bay former films grossed like $1 billion. And at one point they were like in the top like 15 highest grossing films of all time, which is fucking crazy to think about that. But they made a lot of money. So like I can see from the studio's perspective why they would look at those films and be like, maybe it's time to bring Michael Bay back and embrace the Bayhem, and and try to kind of get back on track. But like one thing I would like to see, if they don't, because maybe they don't continue as a franchise, which doesn't look like it will. But like I don't know, maybe make this into like a TV series. Like I don't know how much. I mean, it cost like $75 million to make this film. That's a lot of money, but I don't know. Like we live in an era now where TV shows have as much, if not a bigger budget than some fucking blockbuster films. So like, and well, and I know that might be a gamble because again, this didn't do well. But like, I don't know, making like I think there would be an actual audience for a TV series, and also if you made like a Transformers One TV series, I think it could also kind of help boost the Transformers One fan base to where like more people are exposed to it, more people would be interested in looking at the movie, which could like have renewed interest in the movie, and it might get to the point where like Paramount looks at it and be like, wow, there's actually a actual an audience for this. We might want to look at it because like we've seen that happen before, like where an IP didn't do too well at first, but then like years after it got a cult following and it got major support, and they looked at it and were like, you know what, let's give it a second try. So maybe that could happen with Transformers One. It's a possibility. Probably won't happen. This is me kind of just like trying to cope with like some possible hail mary that could like make this keep going. And that's one idea. But it's an option. I mean, hell, I'd even take a comic book at this point. Like at some point, I would happily take you know some type of follow up to this film because it's a tragedy that this film is as good as it is, and it just is gonna die pretty much in conception. But you don't know. Maybe there will be a chance in the future for another film in Transformers One uh, filmography. But we'll have to see though. With that said, though, I think I'm gonna call it a day here, and I will see you good people later. But also before that, if you have not seen Transformers One, I strongly recommend you go check it out. I would definitely recommend giving it a shot. But with that said, I will see you good people later, and you take it easy out there.